Our lead story of the day is regarding former President Donald Trump might be getting arrested tomorrow, and he called on his supporters Saturday afternoon to take action after he claimed earlier in the day that he will be arrested next week. The remarks from Trump come after a report from NBC News said federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies were analyzing security assessments and making plans to prepare for the possibility that Trump could be indicted next week by a Manhattan grand jury in connection with the $130,000 hush money payment he allegedly made to porn actress Stormy Daniels during the 2016 presidential campaign. Which is amazing to me because you really see the double standard. I'm not saying he didn't do anything wrong here, but what I'm saying is that you're going after a man who paid some porn actress or star $130,000 of hush money, reported it falsely on the books as probably a legal expense, or no, not probably, was a legal expense as far as what he put down. And you're going to go after the man for that. But yet, under the Obama administration, you literally had espionage, you had bribery, you had him utilizing the IRS to go after conservatives and conservative politicians. I mean, the amount of things you can go after Barack Obama on alone is head spinning. Not to mention where all the investigations on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. I mean, the crazy thing about this whole thing too is that we were told that the Hunter Biden laptop was disinformation, that it was misinformation, and then it went to Russian misinformation, disinformation. And you couldn't even talk about it on social media out of fear of being removed, deplatformed, and banned altogether. And no joke, supposedly, there's headlines out there that talk about Hunter Biden going to sue on behalf of his own laptop. So we were told that we couldn't talk about something because it was fake, and it turns out it was real. We saw the same thing with COVID-19. Also, what's kind of frustrating is that you have Hillary Clinton not being indicted over anything. Speaking of breaking the law, having a server with government documents and access to government documents in her bathroom, and then she bleach bits it and completely scrubs the whole thing. So that's where people are really frustrated on this whole idea of Trump being indicted, but you have all these other politicians that nobody's looking under the hood at. Look at Nancy Pelosi just miraculously is making certain investments in the stock market before certain things and events happened so she can capitalize on all those stocks and those gains because she may or may not have had some information. I find it all suspicious, but you're going to go after Trump. Well, Trump said this on social media. It's time. We are a nation in steep decline, being led into World War III by a crooked politician who doesn't even know he's alive. He's not wrong. I miss Trump, man. But who is surrounded by evil and sinister people who, based on their actions on defunding the police, destroying our military, open borders, no voter ID, inflation, raising taxes, and much more, can only hate our now failing USA. He's not, I mean, everything he said in there is literally truth. Also said, we just can't allow this anymore. They're killing our nation as we sit back and watch. We must save America. Protest, protest, protest. Not to give a shameless plug, but literally this is exactly what my book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America, talks about. Literally how the left is sitting in here behind their ideologies and narratives and are destroying this country from the inside out. I highly recommend you hop over to Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, buy yourself a copy, folks, because God, it is a timely book, let me tell you. Trump's statement in the afternoon comes after he wrote on social media earlier today. He said this: illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which has allowed new records to be set in violent crime and whose leader is funded by George Soros, indicated that with no crime being able to be proven and based on an old and fully debunked by numerous other prosecutors fairy tale, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday next week. Protest, take our nation back. Well, Fox News got a hold of this, or at least some wind of this, and they had this to say about the whole ordeal.
Well, we are learning that the Manhattan DA's office has asked for a meeting with law enforcement ahead of a potential Trump indictment. This is coming to Fox News from a source in the courts. The meeting, which was requested yesterday and has not been set yet, is to discuss logistics for some time next week, which would mean that they are anticipating an indictment next week. The same source who's familiar with the planning said they will go over security preparations in and around the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Secret Service will take the lead in what they will allow or will not allow. The source cautioned, mentioning, for instance, that the decision to handcuff the president, a former president, or not, they will set the tone and will escort him into the courtroom. There will be coordination between all of us, the source said, but we will defer to the Secret Service. The battle will be between Secret Service and DA Alvin Bragg. They will decide how and when he'll get into the building, and they are not going to leave him. The source believes that the former president will still have to be fingerprinted and processed like every other defendant. So this is a huge development if Alvin Bragg has decided to go ahead with a felony indictment of the former president. This was a charge that the federal officials refused to prosecute on or even really pursue. This was a misdemeanor in New York that Alvin Bragg has decided to elevate to a felony, while at the same time downgrading other felonies to misdemeanors. So we'll be watching this to see how it all unfolds, to get more information as it comes in. Sandra?
We all know what this is about, folks. This is to go after Trump because they have Trump derangement syndrome. They don't like them. And they've been going after the guy ever since he went down the elevator. Literally ever since this guy decided to run, nonstop going after this man. Well, Mike Pence was thrown into the mix on this, and he was questioned by ABC this week. Here was that interview and that question.
Donald Trump is saying that he's going to be indicted on Tuesday. He's calling for people to protest. Now, we don't know if that's true. The Manhattan DA has not said anything about it, but he's calling for people to protest. Is that irresponsible?
Well, first, let me say I'm taken aback at the idea of indicting a former president of the United States at a time when there's a crime wave in New York City. That the fact that the Manhattan DA thinks that indicting President Trump is his top priority, I think, just tells you everything you need to know about the radical left in this country.
Damn right.
The last 5 years, Democrats have been dismantling tough criminal justice in the city of New York. Families are paying the price, and yet
Not just in New York.
this is what we get. It just feels like a
Everywhere
politically
else.
charged prosecution here. And I, for my part, I just feel like it's just not what the American people want to see.
But he's calling on people to protest, to come out and protest, take our nation back. We know what happened the last time he said that.
The whore that a president says go protest, even though it's your First Amendment right to do so. And by the way, he said to respectfully, or rather peacefully, protest. But this is the part that these some of these reporters leave out. I'm saying some of them because there's a lot of good reporters, and we do cover them here on the Bolt Brad Show that do a fantastic job. But look, he said to peacefully protest. You got some knuckleheads that went and did the January 6th event that everybody said was knuckleheads and a bunch of idiots. They got what was coming to them. The Democrat Party and the January 6th committee lied about the whole thing, push a certain narrative when they themselves didn't see all the 40,000 hours of footage themselves. Some employees did, of which they didn't bring to the actual January 6th committee. But that's here nor there. That's a whole separate video. But it's true. Is that this is where they want to spend all their time going after Trump for $130,000 for him, which is a drop in the bucket. It's like us going down to McDonald's and tipping somebody $1 and being called a little bit of hush money. So $130,000. Don't get me wrong. Should he have done it? No. Everybody agrees with that, but that was 7 years ago. And now you're going to go after the guy still now and just not let it go over a misdemeanor. It's so everybody sees what's going on. It's right out there in the open.
Well, John, the American people have a constitutional right to peaceably assemble.
Absolutely,
Express
but
their
to have a
voice.
former president calling on people to protest a
the whore.
justice proceeding.
The frustration the American people feel about what they sense as a two-tier justice system in this country, I think is well-founded. But
Oh, yeah.
I believe that people understand that if they give voice to this, if this occurs on Tuesday, that they need to do so peacefully and in a lawful manner. That the violence that occurred on January 6th, the violence that occurred in cities throughout this country in the summer of 2020 was a disgrace. The American people won't tolerate it, and those that engage in that kind of violence should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Look, I agree. If you're going to go out and protest, don't be an idiot. Go out there and peacefully do it. Utilize that First Amendment. You can vocalize yourself. Don't damage somebody else's property. Don't hurt anybody. Don't harm anybody. Just don't act like an idiot. Act like a mensch and go out there and support your president for what's honestly being done to him, because it's disgusting. And it's not going to let up unless we speak up on behalf of the president. So it wasn't just Mike Pence speaking out. It wasn't just Fox News and others. You have Newt Gingrich taking to Twitter saying, arresting President Trump over a 2016 event, which is of dubious illegality, is another sign of the left's insanity. To arrest a former and future president is an act of hatred and poison and will further harden support for Trump while discrediting the left, remembering Hunter Biden. Again, remember Hunter Biden, of which nothing still happened yet. Or going after investigating Joe Biden, of which there's emails on. There's also emails with Eric Holder, former Attorney General, and Barack Obama talking about going again after conservatives for certain things and targeting them with the tool of the IRS. But, you know, Barack Obama literally lied to everybody, said he knew no such thing. And you have the ATF going after certain areas of business owners for working with them in conjunction of giving the cartel and others guns and scrubbing them. I mean, it goes way beyond an episode that we could do here. That's freaking head spinning. But again, there's a double standard. There's a double tier justice system, just like you saw from Mike Pence going after the former president. And Hunter Biden, still nothing's been done about that. You also have Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire saying they want Trump to be a Republican nominee. That's obviously the play here. There is no other convincible reason to arrest and basically perp walk him on a BS misdemeanor charge. I might be overestimating the tactical intelligence of the idiot power-hungry hacks behind this, but if there is any political strategy, then this has to be it. Meaning they don't have anything. All they have is to get this guy behind bars so that he can't sit there and be nominated, so that he can actually fix the disaster that's being done by the Democrat Party here. You also have Pedro Gonzalez. Trump walked his supporters into a trap set by his enemies on January 6th. Now he's asking them to walk into another trap by demanding they take to the streets for him. Meanwhile, the only reason and person that could perhaps help Trump is Ron DeSantis, who Trump just basically has all these bad things to say about. You have Nancy Pelosi running her mouth. Whatever the grand jury decides, its consideration makes clear no one is above the law, not even a former president of the United States. Sure, Nancy. As she's trying to keep her dentures in her mouth as she's trying to say this. The former president's announcement this morning is reckless, doing so to keep himself in the news to foment unrest among his supporters. He cannot hide from his violence of the law, or rather violations of the law, disrespect for our elections, and incitements to violence. You gotta love that, incitements to violence, when you literally have Maxine Waters on tape inciting violence, telling basically Democrat supporters to go after and harm Trump supporters wherever they may be. But you're right, Nancy, take to Twitter and spew your nonsense. Rightfully, our legal system will decide how to hold him accountable. But the same legal system isn't going to go after you, isn't going to go after Barack Obama, isn't going to go after Joe Biden, isn't going to go after Eric Holder, isn't going to go after Hunter Biden. It just seems to be a theme here where you only want to sit there and start investigations around Republicans, but never want to go after Democrats. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Do you think Trump's going to be arrested tomorrow? I think you're going to have a lot of pissed off Republicans and conservatives. Elon Musk seems to think if this does happen, Trump's going to win in a landslide. We'll see. I mean, a lot of Americans have a short-term memory. So we're still 2 years away from election, a little less than 2 years, but I think it'll be swept under the rug. If you look at what Joe Biden's done, a lot of people don't even remember Afghanistan. They don't remember the earlier days of him removing Trump's policies on the illegal immigration. That's why we had this massive surge, or him just, pretending to create 12 million new jobs, of which he didn't do. We covered that last week, of him actually falsifying the numbers. I mean, we have such a short attention span, and the news cycle is so fast that we tend to forget all the bad things that not just the Democrat Party has done, but Joe Biden himself.
I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.